Hello and welcome back to day 16 of 100 days of code. My name is Tyler Potts and today we are creating something. We're combining two awesome frameworks. One is a server-side framework, one is a front-end framework. We're going to be combining node.js with vue.js to create a chat app. So we'll be creating a chat application in VueJS, and this is it over here. So if we open up this, we're going to open this up. It's going to ask you what is your username. I could have created like an input field, but I chose not to. I'm going to say Tyler, and here we are. It remembers my messages from earlier on the server, although if you restart the server, it won't remember them. But that will be enough of video for tomorrow, I believe. So keep your eyes open for that. We'll be using MongoDB. If we open up another one now and we go Zoe, who is my partner, actually it's updated to 2 on both sides, so username Tyler, Zoe 2. And now if I go over to Tyler and we say hello, and it's hello, and if we go over to the Zoe window over here, it also says hello from Tyler. So now if Zoe replies saying hello Tyler, and we go back and forth, as you can see there's no delay from going back and forth. It's instantly there. It's so fast. We're going to be using socket.io for this, which is an absolute awesome, awesome plugin, awesome dependency. It's just an awesome thing. I'm saying awesome too much. Okay, I'm going to clear all this up and I'm going to create a project, and I'm going to refresh everything, and then I'll see you back in 1 second. Okay guys, welcome back to the video. We're going to continue on from here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to type in, so we've got, so wherever you're making your app, I just called it chat app in my my projects folders. And in here I'm going to go and write, we're going to start off with the server, so we're going to write in here npm init. So if you haven't already used Node or don't know what I'm doing right here, this basically starts a new Node application. And if you want to learn how to actually install Node and stuff, if you go back onto one of my, I think it's day 10, it's node.js basics, I go over this and how to install it. So now if we click enter for npm init, it's going to ask us what our package name is going to be. It's called chat app, version 1.0.1. Yep, that's fine. Description, we don't need one. Entry point is going to be server.js because this is the server. Test command, git repository, keywords none. Or if I'm just going to put my name, you could put yours. License can be anything, and then there we go. So that is that. So now if we go over to our text editor, if we open up chat app in our text editor, as you can see here, there's our package.json, what we've created using Node or npm. And in here we're going to write def, and we're going to do something called nodemon server.js, and we're going to install nodemon as a dependency. So under here we're going to type in dependencies, and we're going to type in here, we're going to type a few, so we want a few dependencies. We're going to type in express, and we're going to put in here a asterisk for, that means the latest version. And in here we're going to type in socket.io, and again, oh hello, you're not going to, oh I forgot to put a comma at the end. And this one is also going to be an asterisk. And then in our def dependencies, we're going to type in here nodemon. What? That's not what I asked for. Nodemon, and we're going to say asterisk as well. So now if we go over to our terminal and we type in npm install, this is going to install our dependencies for us. Okay, and we're back. Everything seems to be installed. If we go over into our node modules, you'll see we have all the dependencies and sub-dependencies of those dependencies. That's a mouthful of what we need. So everything is now in there. And now this def should work. But, well, it won't because we don't have a server.js file. So now let's create that. So if we click out of that and we click in here and we type in server.js, here is our server. And the first thing we need to do is get our app. So we're going to do const app is equal to require. So we have to require express, and then we're going to put some more parentheses at the end of this. So basically, if you remember before, I used to do const express is equal to require, oh hello, express, and then I used to do const app is equal to express with parentheses. This is literally doing that, these two things here in one line. So you're calling, so basically what you're doing is adding this where it says expressor from this name and adding it to the end of that. That is all you're doing. So it's just a quick way of doing it, especially with this, because you've got to do a few things like this on this one. So we're going to do const HTTP. So HTTP is a module which is, it's already, you don't have to install this dependency. It already comes in core node, but this is what we're using to use our surfer. So it's different to how we did it before. We're going to pass through app. But then we also now need to add in our socket.io. So we call this IO and we're going to say require socket.io, and at the end here, so again, more parentheses, so we're calling this, and we're going to put in HTTP, so we're passing through that. So now that is done, we next need to go down here and type in http.server, or no, sorry, .listen. And then we've got to pass through a port number, which is 3000 we're going to use. We're going to use an arrow function, which is ES6. And we're going to log in here, and we're going to say, we're going to do something different to what we normally do. We're going to say listening on port, and then we're going to put $$s, which is means that we can pass through an argument. And here we're going to put 3000. So if you have a dynamic port, which isn't always the same, you can pass through something in this. If this was something called process.env.port or 3000, so you would do the exact same here down there, because obviously you won't know what that's always going to be if it's process.env.port. So what this is, so normally you would have a .env file on your server, which I'm not going to go into too much, just use it, or just use 3000 for now if you want to. But basically process.env is a file on your server which holds a bunch of information like your secrets and stuff. It's basically a more secure way of putting stuff in a file. And if you put and then or, this means or 3000. So if this returns null, so nothing, if there's nothing there, it will use the value 3000 or 3000. So this will tell us the port. And now if we go over to this file here, we can go npm run def. So if we go into package.json, oh, that's locked, package.json. If you see the script, we run def, so we're going to run that, and we run that, it's going to launch Gnome. It says listening on port 3000. So that is all working. And now every time we make a change to this folder, as you see, it restarts. That's what nodemon does. It's a great development dependency, as you've probably seen already. So we don't need any more files for literally surfer.js is all we need for this this chat app, although you could split off into more if you wanted to. I'm going to write up here, let users equal an array. Oh, that's a P, that's not an array. Equal an array, because we're going to be storing a list of users. We're going to say let messages equal an array as well, because we're going to store the messages so we can pass them back. And then we're going to say let index equals 0. So what this does is we're going to be using the index as, let's say, if you had if you connected this to a database, it would have like an ID, and index is going to be our ID. So we're just going to increment that for every message we get and just pass that through. And now if we do IO, so we use this variable up here. Oh, that's in, I wrote it in, but io.on. So this is like an event listener. So, and then we're going to say connection, and we're going to pass through. We're going to get passed through something called a socket. So when someone connects, it's going to pass us the information of that socket, because socket.io obviously uses WebSockets. Again, there's an arrow function, because we're only using one. We're only passing through one value. We don't need to put parentheses around it. And then in here, we're going to put socket.emit. So when, you know, we're going to do our disconnect first. So disconnect. And down here, we're going to write in here socket.on disconnect. And we're going to do an arrow function just because it's quicker and easier. And in Node, it uses the Chrome engine, so this will always be supported. And we can write in here console .log. We're going to use backtick so we can do some string interpolation, and we're going to type in here socket.user name, and we're going to be creating this. This isn't actually in the socket yet, but it will be once we have done. And we're going to put has left the party, because you know they've left the room party. And then we're going to do so wait, on connect. So we actually have to do something quickly before we continue writing the disconnect. So this will get us when we disconnect as well. So we're going to put in here socket.on new user. So we're listening for an event that this socket emits called new user, and this is going to go called username. So it's going to pass through a username. We're going to set that up soon. And in here we're going to type in console.log, and again we're going to use backticks because we'll use some string interpolation, and we're going to do dollar curly braces, and we're going to type in username. So we're going to write down that thing, the param we're passing through, and we're going to has arrived at the party, because it's a party room. It's how it is. And then we're going to do socket dot username. So we're creating that username in this object now. So we're going to create that, and it's going to say it's equal to username. So that is simple as that. And then we're going to do users dot push, and we're going to say socket. So we are now passing in this socket variable into the user. So now users has that. And then later on we'll be adding in a after this we'll send it back to everyone that someone has just come online, but we'll do that after. So now we've got two basic things here, and on has connected and has disconnected. We're going to set up everything in the node first, and then we're going to go over to the thing do we? Yeah, because we don't want to break away. So on here we're going to do something else. We're going to say socket dot emit, and we're going to pass through logged in, which is going to be, so when someone logs in, so as soon as someone logs in, we're going to pass them a few things. So we're going to send them an object called users, and it's going to be users.map. So we're going to use a map function, and we're going to say s is equal to s.username. So what map does is it will basically, you can reassign a variable, so you can change a variable, and basically we're creating a new array, or sorry, map alters arrays, and using s, that's passing through the whole of users, or each user, and then we're just going to get the use. I just realized I put a colon there, but we're going to just get the user. So s is just the one user, and it's going to pass back the username. So this is going to loop through all of that and pass back, create a new array in users with just the usernames, because we don't want to pass through the whole socket, because that gives like IPs and everything pass, and that's quite unsecure. So that's why we're doing that, instead of just passing through back the whole users array. And then we're going to type in messages, and we're going to pass through messages. Again, messages up here, it doesn't have anything in it yet, so that's not needed. Okay. And now if we go back to on new users, we're going to also emit something back. So once they've logged in, we're going to send and emit to everyone to say user online. So that's basically saying here's a new user online, and we're going to type in socket.username. We're passing back their username. So again, like we're doing here, we're only passing usernames. We're going to pass every time someone new comes online as well. We're going to send to everyone this person's username, and that is going to add it to the list of usernames on their everyone's side, so they can see the list of usernames, or for our usage, just see how many people are online. Okay, next up, we need to make sure when we receive a message from the server or the VueJS app, it will get that message and do something with it. So we're going to type in message, and we're going to type message as, because we're going to pass through just the message, and we're going to say let message. So this is, we're going to create an object here, and we're going to pass in index, and again we're going to type in index. So we're grabbing the index we use up here and passing it through. We're going to go username, and again we're going to say socket.username, and then we're going to pass a message. We're just going to write that like MSG, and we're going to pass through the message. So the message which is being passed from the server. So we already know this socket username because we've already, on this connection, we've passed through socket. So we already know about this. So we don't so if it comes from socket, which is this socket, we already know. And now we've got the, oh hello, I didn't want to do that. And now we've got the messages. We're going to put in here messages.push, and we're going to say message. So we're going to push this new object we created, and we're going to push it into the message. I just realized that says message. That should be messages. So now we've got messages. And now we're going to say io.emit. So we're going to send to everybody who is online. We're going to say message. We're going to say there's a new message, and we're going to pass through message, which is our object again. And then we're going to go index plus plus, so we're not creating the same index every single time a new message. So this index is just going to increment per how many messages we get. Again, if you were using a database, which we're going to be using MongoDB, hopefully in the next video, we're going to be integrating MongoDB with this chat app. I just don't have time to do it today because that will take way too long, because I also haven't done a tutorial on how you set up Mongo on your computer and stuff, so I'm going to need to do all that in this next video. But we're going to set up MongoDB, and we're going to, instead of using index and message, we're going to just get an ID generated from when we create the message. But for now, this is our ID, our index.id. Okay, and now I think that is it. Is that the server set? Oh no, we've got to do a disconnect, so we've got to tell the users on the other end that a user has left if they've gone offline. So we're going to say io.emit, and we're going to say user left. It's pretty simple, and we're going to say socket, so this socket.username. So we're just going to say this user has left, and then we can use this on our front end to remove it from our users array. And then we're going to say users.splice. Splice removes, so if I say 1, it's going to remove the users of the index of 1 and only remove one of them from there. But we're going to put in here user splice users.index off, and then we're going to pass in the socket, and then we're going to remove 1. So basically what I'm saying here is we're going to check what the index of socket is. So we're going to look for this this socket in this array, and if we find it, we're going to pass back the index of what number in the array it is, and we're just going to remove 1. So we're just going to remove that usage, and that is our server fully set up. That is everything we need on our server. And that looks good. So that is how simple the server needs to be. That is a Node.js server. So now let's create the client. So if we close that, and we now need to go back here, and if we click here and we type in Vue UI, because we're going to be using the UI. Actually, let's cd chat app, and then we're going to do Vue UI, and we're going to hit enter. I might do an actual CLI tutorial soon. So how you create literally what we're doing here, everything you do in here. So if we go back home there, anything you create in here, we're going to create over there. I might do that using just the CLI, so we do it through the terminal. But for now, we're going to hit create. Oh, we need to come back out of that. We need to go 100 days of code, day 16, chat app, and now we're going to create a new project called client. So this is going to be the chat app client, and then we don't need a git repository for this one because the whole package is a repository. And we're going to click next, and we're going to click default presets. We always do that, and I'll see you when this is done. Okay, we are back. We have got the new the project is created. So actually, you've been here before. We need to install a dependency this time, and we're not installing a def dependency. We're installing an actual dependency. It's called socket.io-client. So this one here, we're going to install this because this is how we're going to communicate between the client, the VueJS app, and the server. So if we install that, okay, that's installed, and I'm going to install Sass and Sass Loader, or actually, so the def dependencies, we're going to say Sass, and we're going to install Node Sass and Sass Loader because I like using Sass more than I like using CSS. Okay, and SAS Loader and Node.js have been installed, so we can continue on. So if we go over to surf and we hit run task, it's going to surf our files onto the web for us. We've just got to wait for this all to compile and build. It doesn't take too long. Actually, it's saying, well, that takes longer for normal, but again, that is fine. And now if we click open app, here is the basic VueJS app you get, as we've done in previous tutorials. And now in our file, we've got our client here. And we've gone through public before. We know what all this is. If you want to learn it, it's in my VueJS basics tutorial. I think that was episode 12 or 13 or somewhere near there. And if we hit source and we go into components, we just want to delete the hello world, as that is that. And then hello. And then in app, we want to remove this import here. We want to remove from in components, and we want to remove it from the page and the logo from the page. And we also want to change our tabs, because I like to use tabs and not that, and I also like to have a bit of space because it makes it more readable for me. We want to change, so we want to get rid of, I'm going to paste in a little bit of code here, and I'll explain it in a second. I'm just going to do that, and if I pull that down, and we're going to change this to lang equals sas. So what I've done here is I've kept the font family, I've kept the color, but I've added some. I've neutralized the margin and padding, so there's none. And then in the app, we've said we're creating a flexbox container with flex column height of 100 as the one whole page, width 100%, and then the max width 768, which is a tablet size, and margin 0 order to center this. This block here. So before we continue, we're gonna, before we write any HTML or anything out, we're going to create some data, and we're going to call it function. And we're going to create a function, and you need to return this function, this data as an object, and we're going to say username is equal to an empty string, socket is equal to, I've missed the step, so socket is going to be equal zone, but I need to actually import socket.io. So if we go import io from, that's D from, and we're going to say socket.io -client. So what we're doing here is we're just importing the socket.io client side stuff over, and now we can write here socket is equal to io, and then we've got to pass through our server, our server.js, so the location of, or the domain of this, which we're using localhost, so it's HTTP. Just so you guys know, it's this. So we're using port 3000, so it's HTTP. God, tongue twister. And then we're going to type in localhost, and we're going to put port 3000, and that not a thing, a comma, and that is how you would do. So this just initializing. This just connecting to the server. So if we go to socket, so if we go underneath socket and we type in messages, so this is where we're going to store all our messages we get in an array, and then our users too in another array. And now that is good. That is our set up. Next up is let's create the actual element. So we're going to do .header. We could have used header, but I don't know why I've gone for .header. H1, and we're going to call this the chat room. We're going to go p.username, and we're going to write in here username, and we're going to set, hello, don't decapitalize my word, and we're going to use some, we're going to write an expression. So we're using this is like handlebars expression, so you can write JavaScript in here, and we're going to say username. So we're just going to pass through the username, which is in our data function, and then we're also going to do p.online. And then we're going to write in here online, and we're going to do the same, do an expression, which says users.length. So we are getting the length of this array, which should automatically be 0 to start with. And that is good. So now let's create so if we go back and we refresh here, actually there's no username and there's no one online because we haven't set those methods up yet. So in here we're going to type in, we're going to type in methods, and we're just going to set that for now. And then underneath that we're going to say mounted, and this is a, I don't know how you call it. This is a predefined. This is a part of VueJS. This keyword, and it's a function which says, so as soon as you mount, so as soon as this component mounts to the DOM, do this. And we're going to say this dot username is equal to a prompt. So what a prompt does is well, you'll see. Let me just show you by this. So we're going to say, what is your username? So this is like a alert, but you can actually get a username, so you can actually write data back to us, and we're going to set the default to anonymous. And then we're also going to say, see, as you see, when we load this page just before the component mounts, we get what is your username, and then we could put in here Tyler and click OK. And look, our username is set to Tyler, so that is good, but we also want to check if we didn't put anything in. So if we entered it and we removed everything, we want to say this dot username. So if this is empty because this returns something which was null, we will say this dot username is equal to anonymous. So in case someone goes in and hits cancel, so if we go over here and we hit cancel, it returns it to anonymous because that would pass through nothing. And then we can go this. Hey, I think that's good. So if we say Tyler and the username Tyler, so that's good. And now we do need to say, we need to create a method now in here. Well, we need to call a method. So once this is done, we need to say this dot join server. And what we're going to do here, so this, oh, hello, we don't want you yet. So the annoying thing is, so you could do something better. You could have, before you actually load anything, you could have an input field where you entered your username there and clicked OK, and then that would change you to the chat room. But for simplicity's sake and speeds, we're going to use prompt. So anyway, in methods, we need to write one called join server. And then that is going to be equal to a function, and that's good. So now in this, we're going to say this. Oh, pardon me, sorry. So we're going to say this dot socket dot logged. Oh, sorry, dot on, and we're going to say logged in. So we'll say when we're going to, and then we're going to pass through data. So we're going to listen out for logged in. So remember, in our server function we created, as soon as someone connects, we're going to go logged in, and we're going to pass back who's already online and stuff. So we're going to say here this.socket.logged-in, and we're going to say this.messages. So we're going to get the messages from here. It's all .push. .push is equal to message. So I need to clarify something. You can't actually use a function in this part here, because if you wrote a function here, it would ruin the scope of this, and this would then be relating to this function, where we want this to relate to this component. So we have to actually use oh god, is that right? No, it's data.messages. Sorry, my bad. So this would be, oh no, wait, we don't want to push. We want to say this is equal to data.messages, because this is when you first log on, so that you're not going to have any messages anyway. So this sets the whole array to the messages which have already been served. And then we're going to say this.users is equal to data.users, so that's the same. And then we're going to say this.socket .emit, so we're going to pass something back to the server, and we're going to say new user, and we're going to say this.username. So we're going to pass back to the server here where it says new user. We're going to pass back the username we create when we first load up, so this.username when we prompt, and we're going to pass that back to the server, and the server is going to console log, it's going to tell us we've arrived, and then it's going to set this socket's username to username, push the socket into the array, and then it's going to send back to everybody who's logged in user online socket.username. We haven't created that function yet, so we're going to create that in a minute, but for now, if we reload and we go Tyler and we click OK, oh god, sorry, let's just cancel all these quickly. If we refresh now, because basically what was happening every time we saved, it was hot reloading here, so it opened up like loads of instances. And we're just going to say Tyler, and we click OK. So it says Tyler there, where nothing's really changed. But if we go over here, down in our terminal, it says Tyler has arrived at the party. So we were creating a join server. And in the join server, so once we've logged this data, we're then going to click this, oh no, not inside this function. Once they do, we're going to say this dot listen. So we're going to create a function just hello. After this called listen, and we're going to say it equal to a function. So hello, cancel that. So in here we're going to actually create all our listeners, so our event listeners for when we get stuff back from the server. So we're going to say this dot socket.on, and then we're going to say user online, so we're going to get back our user online. We're going to say user, so we'll get our user from the server, because remember we already set this up, and so we're going to say this.users.push, and we're going to push the user. So now this should, when we come in we say Tyler and we click hello, what is happening? Let's refresh that and go Tyler. And there we go, we get one user online, so we are now online, and we got the chat. So again, that hot reloading isn't really useful when it keeps sending me back the same data and we haven't actually catered for that yet. So now we've got user online, we also need this.socket.on, and we're going to say user left. So now if a user leaves, we also need to remove him from the array. And we want to say this, go away for a second, this dot users dot splice, and we're going to say this dot users dot index off, and we're going to say user, because we're going to pass back the user, so we're checking for that user and we're going to remove one. So like we did on the server, just a bit longer because we have to use the this keyword, but we're going to remove that from the thing. You know what I'm saying, right? I don't know what I'm saying. And then lastly, we're just going to write it up here, this.socket.on, and we're going to say message msg. So we created a message on the other server, remember, and we're going to say message. Actually, you know what? I don't know why I put this at the top. This can go at the bottom. So message, and we're going to say this.messages. So we're going to get the messages, and we're going to push the message. And that's it. So that is all we need to do for our listeners. And I'm pretty sure that is our app.js section done for now. We can now actually create a component which will actually be our chat. I'm just going to close that and then reopen that, because that is so annoying when it does that. And I'm going to say Tyler. Hey, there we go. And it says one online. So everything's still working. Let's check if there's any errors in the console. No errors. Let's continue. So let's create a new component. In components, create a new file. I'm going to call this chatroom.vue. So this is going to be the actual room, and we're going to do template. Oh, pardon me. And then we're going to set up our actual view. So we're going to say chat-window, and that is going to be our chat window. I'm going to say .messages, so this is going to have all our messages in, and then next to that we're going to say form input container, and we don't want an action because that is not needed, and then we're going to say input of text, and we don't need a name or an ID because we're just going to bind this using phi-model, and we're going to set this equal to message, which we will set up in a second in our data, in our script, in our data for this component. And we're going to say button, and we're going to say send. It's not going to be very pretty, but I'm going to say fee on click is going to be equal to a function called send message, which is good. And then we're going to say we're going to use, so as you can see, I've put a little colon here which stands for fee bind, and we're going to say it's equal to message. So we're going to say this is disabled. So we're going to say fee bind disabled, so we're passing on this attribute, and we're going to say this is disabled if there's no message. So we're saying if no message, we're going to return false. If message, we're going to return true. And we could write fee on here like the other one, so we can write that there, and that is good. And on our form, we also want to say fee on, and we're going to say submit. So when you actually hit enter inside this, it will actually do the send message as well, because that means you can hit enter or click the button to use this, which I find really useful. And next up, so there's a lot to this HTML here, so we're going to use message, and then inside message we're going to do username, and then inside message as well, we're going to do message text, and then we're going to use some expression here. We're going to say message.message, and we're going to say so I actually could change this to MSG because I feel that it's going to clash with this if we continue. And then in here we're going to say, oh no, sorry, in this part we're going to say message, oh that's not right, message dot username. And then we've got to create a for loop here, so we're going to say fee for on the message. So for each message we're going to do we're going to pass through message in messages, and then we're going to do key is equal to, and we're going to say message dot index, and we're going to write it here fee bind, so it looks useful. And I've just realized I've done that wrong. That should be fee bind before disabled. And this basically creates a loop from some data we pass through. So if we now type in script with JavaScript and we type in a name, and we're just going to call this the chat room, and we type in props, and we're going to pass through messages. So from our app we're going to pass through messages prop, and we're going to say data function, so we're going to use some data return, and we're going to say MSG is equal to that. So I think everything's set up correctly now. Yes it is. We now need to create a method called send message, because as you see up here we use send message. We're going to do function, and we're going to say if not this dot message, if this dot message, we're going to say alert, please enter a message. So we're saying if it's blank, we're going to alert and tell them to add a message, because even though we've disabled the button when there's no message, we can't do that on the form because it will disable the input too, and that means we won't be able to actually write the message at all. So we're just going to alert if someone hits enter before they should have, and then we're going to say, oh, and then we're going to return out of this function because we don't want to continue if that's the case. And then if that's not the case, we're going to say this dot $emit, which is a VueJS emit and not a socket emit, and we're going to say send message, and we're going to say this dot MSG, which is the message we're creating. So we're going to send through that string, and we're going to say this dot MSG is equal to nothing because we don't want anything after that. Now we want to set the input field back to how it was. And let's go down to style with sass and scoped, and we're going to say dot chat window is equal to flex1 display flex, and then flex direction is equal to column. So the reason we're doing flex1 is because we actually pass up in here, we call this display flex, and we want the chat room then to take up the rest of the room on the page. So that's what we want to do there. And then we're going to say background color is equal to F9, 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 quite a really light white. And then we're going to say, we're going to give it a little box shadow of 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 6 pixel, 0 pixel, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.15, so quite a light shadow as well. And then here we're going to go dot messages, and we're going to say flex 1 because we want this to take up the rest of the room as well. We're going to say overflow scroll, so this is going to be the scrolling element. So when the messages when we get too many messages, it will scroll instead of overflow. And then in message we're going to say dot message. Oh, that's not how you spell message, and that's definitely not how you spell message. So how you spell message now? It's starting to look funny to me. Display, again we're going to have display flex, and then we're going to say border bottom 1 pixel solid, EF, 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 and padding, padding of 10 pixels. I'm sorry the CSS is boring, it's always boring. And we're going to say in here, and last of type, border bottom none, so we don't actually want a border for the last one. And then we're going to say dot username, and we're going to just say width 100 pixels, margin right 15 pixels to space the message away, and we're going to say dot message text, and we're just going to say flex 1 so it takes up the remainder of the room. Oh, okay, now let's get out of message. Let's go form, and we're going to say display flex, and then we're going to go form input, and we're going to say flex 1 because we want that to take up the rest of the room. Height of 35 pixels. Box sizing, border box, although to remove because this will have loads of things. We're going to say font size 18 pixels, and then why have I written it like that? Sorry, I've gone CSS on us there. That can just be okay. There we go. That's sorted. And then after input, we can say button, and we're just going to say width of 75 pixels, height of 35 pixels, and a box sizing of border box. Okay, that is that done. That is a whole message script done, so this should send that all back. And now if we go in here, we need to import our component. So we're going to say import chat room from, and we're going to say components slash chat room. Please stop asking me that. And then in our components, we're going to make sure it's aware of chat room, and under here we're going to say chat room, and that is pretty much everything we need to do for that. We need to set on here, we need to say fee on send message. So when we get that message, we're going to say send message, or this dot send message. And we also want to bind the messages, fee bind, and we're going to say messages. So we're going to pass through the prop of messages. So that is everything we need to do for the chat app, I believe. Wow, that went through so quick. So now if we say Zoe, oh, here we go. Let's just cancel. Let's just close this and reopen it, because I do that every time. I don't know why. Let's just open it from here, safer, and we're going to say Tyler. And there we go. So this is, oh, hello. A little box isn't growing. It's fine. We'll sort that in a minute. And then if we create a new window, cool. Click the right one this time, and we're going to say Zoe. So now we've got 2 online, and our other one updated. And now if we say hello, oh, I just wrote on a different screen. If we say hello and we hit enter, please enter a message. Please enter a message. What? Oh, it froze. It done a broken thing. Let's check what was up there. Let's see the surfer log. No, it ain't come up. What have we missed? We've missed. Oh. So we created the send. Oh, hello. That's going to cause issues. We created this send message value here, and then when we click send message, we don't actually do anything here. We need a send message function down here. So there we go. I pass, and this is going to also create a message. And oh, go away! Please stop doing that. I'm going to say this.socket.emit, and we're going to emit message, and we're going to say message. So we're going to pass a message back to the surfer now, and the surfer is going to handle that from there. And then in chat room, there's nothing wrong here. So model fee model is equal to message, so that binds it with the message data down there. So that's good, and fee hyphen bind disabled is equal to message, so that we know that don't work. So why doesn't so we have a form with the class of input container. Oh, we used input container. Let's use that anyway. Let's go down to oh, and that is another reason that it's not working. So we've accidentally put our whole form into the wrong thing, so that had no styling, so I wondered why that was there. So now that needs to go in our chat window and not our messages window. So this now should be prefixed to the bottom. If we close that and just use open app and we type in Tyler, there we go. So that is styled now at the bottom there, although to be fair, this probably shouldn't be right at the bottom. Yeah, let's fix that because that's going to bug me. We're going to say app a padding of 15 pixels. Oh, and we need to say box sizing, border box. There we go. So now it's in a little, although, yeah, that'll do. And now if we say hello and we hit enter, please enter a message. Please enter a message. Why are you doing that to me? In chat room, we said this.message. If this, oh, we wrote the wrong thing in there. It should be this.msg because I changed name because I didn't want it to clash. Okay, let's try this one more time. We're going to get this right this time, and we're going to say Tyler, and there we go. Ah, 2 online. Let's refresh. Tyler, 2 online. How is there 2 online? Our surfer seems to not have disconnected one of our people. Yes, anonymous hasn't left the party yet. This person hasn't left the party. So where is that open? So when it disconnected, it didn't. Oh, it disconnected. It just, that one took a while to disconnect. God, that was lagging behind. So now we're going to say hello, and I'm going to hit enter, and it worked. See, that says hello. Let's open up another output now. I'm going to open Zoe, which is my partner's name. And look, my message there, what I just sent, even though we've only just opened it, it says updated to. Tyler's one is updated to 2. We say, hello, Tyler. And there we go. We get that. And now if we go back to client and we say, how was your day? And we hit that. How was your day? And we go back to that client. It works. See, that is our thing. It says 2 online. So now if we copy that and open another one, and we go in with anonymous and we say, hello, I am robot. It goes in and it says 3 people are online, and it works. And now if we disconnect, it goes back down to 2 people online, and if we disconnect again, it goes back down to 1. You could actually emit a message which tells you anonymous has left the party here when you do the console log, and handle that too, so it shows it in the chat who has left. But at the same, and you could do it for the same as someone joins. We can send a message saying this person has joined, but for now we're not going to do that. So this is our chat room app. I hope you learned something new, and I hope I didn't go too fast. It's just doing 2 different languages at one, or two different sides, like server and client, in one video is probably going to be a long time. I can already tell it's the unedited video is going to be an hour, over an hour, because of the time I had to wait for dependencies to download and stuff. But at the same time, I hope you did enjoy and I hope you learned something new. Let me know if you want me to do anything else on this. I am going to be integrating a MongoDB database with the server, which means we're going to be saving our messages. So even if the server restarts, these messages will still be saved. Like for now, if we refreshed and we log back in, these messages are here. But if we went back to the server and we type in rs, which restarts the server, and we go back, as you see, the messages have gone. So if you restart a server or something, the messages are gone and they're not actually saved in a database, which isn't good. So we're going to save those in the database. But for now, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, if you want to learn more with me, then subscribe. And any feedback, leave it in the comments. This will be up on GitHub. I hope you enjoyed, and peace out.